Every student dreams of the perfect college experience, feeling the warm sense of freedom for the first time in their lives and finding a sense of purpose to fulfill their ambitious goals. A big part of a student's college growth is studying abroad, experiencing a new culture, a new way of life, and immersing themselves into the unknown. Meredith Kercher had the same vision when she left London to live in Perugia, Italy, but the fate that awaited Meredith was anything but freeing. And what would happen to the innocent soul sparked one of the most controversial murder trials in history. Meredith, known as Mez to her friends, grew up in South London with dreams of becoming a journalist. She was vibrant, full of life, and adored the Italian culture. When she was 21, she entered her university's study abroad program, finding herself in Perugia, an artistic centre right in the heart of Italy. Meredith rented a small flat with 3 other people, 2 Italian women in their late 20s, and 20-year-old Amanda Knox, an exchange student from the United States. The lower level of their house was occupied by 4 younger Italian men, and a man named Rudy Guide, an acquaintance of the men who frequently visited their flat. November the 1st, 2007 started out as a normal day for Meredith. Her 2 other flatmates took some time off and left Italy for an extended weekend holiday, leaving just Meredith and Amanda with the apartment to themselves. She reportedly spent some time with friends, enjoying an intimate dinner, and headed home around 8:45 p.m. that evening, the last known sighted of the enthusiastic student. Amanda herself was reportedly spending time with Raffaele Solitacio, an Italian student she had recently met. She decided to stay at his place for the night, leaving Meredith completely alone in their share flat. On November the 2nd, 2007, Amanda claimed she headed back home when some unusual things stood out to her. The front door was reportedly open, and Amanda noticed drops of blood in the bathroom. Assuming Meredith was in her room, Amanda attempted to open it, only to find it locked from the inside. Following her gut that something was off, Amanda went back to Raffaele's place, convincing him to come back with her to locate Meredith, who would not answer her calls. After trying to break into Meredith's bedroom, Raffaele called the police, alerted them of the situation. One of Amanda and Meredith's flatmates also arrived at the apartment, inadvertently disturbing the crime scene, rummaging through the apartment to see if anything was missing, and instructing one of her male friends to break down Meredith's door, where they discovered the unthinkable. Meredith was found laying in a pool of blood on her floor. She had been raped and her throat had been slit. The beautiful young woman was dead. Detectives arrived at the scene once it was reported that a homicide had taken place, and immediately questioned Amanda and Raffaele, wondering why the pair waited so long to call the police. Investigators recalled the couple acting strangely, instantly marking them both as a person of interest. For the next few days, both Amanda and Raffaele were interviewed relentlessly by police. In addition to a casual attitude about the death of her roommate, Amanda had no real alibi. She alleged that her boss, a man named Patrick Lamumba, texted her that night, cancelling her waitressing shift. Since her shift was cut, Amanda decided to stay in, alone with her boyfriend Raffaele at his flat. But police weren't buying her story. Between the abusive interrogations, limited breaks, and zero legal defence, Amanda cracked, falsely confessing that she was in fact at her flat that night. Her false confession led to the imprisonment of both Raffaele and her boss Patrick, whom Amanda falsely stated were both with her on the night of November the 1st, 2007. CCTV captured grainy footage of a woman near the apartment on the night of the murder. Her jeans and coat were similar to those Amanda wore the day of the crime, and they walked in a similar way. Media was quick to claim that this put Amanda at the scene of the murder. All 3 were immediately taken into custody for the murder of Meredith Kercher. Patrick Lamumba was working at his bar on November the 1st and had numerous witness accounts to back him up. He was quickly released from custody. But police were about to make another break in their case, a DNA match. Bloodstains belonging to Rudy Quaid, a neighbourhood acquaintance, was found in Meredith's bedding, resulting in him being extradited from Germany where he was hiding. Now investigators had a new angle. Amanda, Raffaele and Rudy killed Meredith over a sex game gone wrong. The case turned into a media frenzy that became a worldwide sensation. How could two seemingly good people, with very little evidence against them, be convicted of such a crime? And what was their relationship with Rudy Quaid? The world was at a standstill to see what would come next of their famous trial. Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito pled not guilty in 2009 after 2 years incarcerated. The two were to be tried separately from their alleged accomplice Rudy Quaid. The prosecution's story indicated that the couple attacked Meredith in her bedroom, beat her and held her down while Rudy Quaid sexually assaulted her. It was Amanda, according to the courts, who fatally slit Meredith's throat, leaving her for dead. The only piece of DNA linking them to the murder was a fragment found on Meredith's bra clasp. It was linked to Raffaele, placing him at the scene according to prosecutors. And a small trace of Amanda's DNA found on a kitchen knife, presumably the weapon. The defence, however, pointed out how there was no trace of Amanda found in Meredith's room, yet Rudy's fingerprints and DNA were found in both her bedroom and on her body, arguing that he was a lone wolf in her rape and murder. But despite their desperate attempt to sway the courts, Amanda and Raffaele were both found guilty on numerous accounts, including first-degree murder. Raffaele was sentenced to 25 years in prison and Amanda 26 years. Although Italy did not seem to favour Amanda Knox, Americans were outraged at the harsh sentencing, especially without any proper evidence, and numerous experts spoke out on how terribly Italian investigators handled the case. In November 2010, Amanda and Raffaele appealed their sentencing, forcing a court-ordered review of all the DNA stored in evidence. What they discovered was shocking. There were countless errors made during the retrieval of DNA, including forensics not wearing caps, and also using dirty latex gloves. The review also found multiple traces of male DNA on the bra strap, concluding it was contaminated. Experts running the appeal found enough reason to overturn Amanda and Raffaele's conviction, exonerating them both of all counts charged against them. After 4 years in prison, they were finally free. Amanda headed back to Seattle, Washington in October 2011, but her Italian nightmare wasn't over just yet. Another retrial was ordered in March 2013 on the grounds that the appeal was faulty. Amanda and Raffaele were being charged yet again for Meredith's murder, and on January 30th, 2014, they were both found guilty. Amanda stayed in the US despite the second conviction and appealed yet again, maintaining her and Raffaele's innocence. Italy's Supreme Court made the final decision on March 27th, 2015, completely absolving them for the murder of Meredith Kercher. As for Rudy Quaid, he was sentenced to 30 years for Meredith's murder and currently remains in prison. Today, Amanda has found a voice in the media, advocating for the wrongly accused. She wrote a book about her experience and released a Netflix documentary in which she narrates those harrowing 4 years in prison. Although what was done to Amanda and Raffaele was shocking and unfair, it doesn't compare to the precious life of Meredith Kercher that was taken away too soon.